Hi, this is Chris McCabe of e-commerce. Chris, I'm here with Yoni Mazur of Gatita. Did I say your name correctly? Mazur.
Perfect. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
job.
awesome.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Very good.
Good.
Super Monday.
I know. So next month is Prosper Show in Las Vegas. Doing a bunch of videos with speakers, sponsors, figure out what everybody's talking about that they're having the most problems with. I want to know what you're planning on talking to most of your seller clients at Prosper, what topics are coming up. So maybe just start with some trends or current events. I know I've sent you some people lately that had questions about getting money back from inventory that was lost. They're not getting straight answers from Amazon and they're filing tickets. So what are the major one or two problems that you're talking to people about these days?
So lately what we get a lot of, feedback and friction with our clients and just people from the industry is, concerns about, the rising costs. It's since I remember really, I started selling on Amazon. I mean, I started as a seller. Today I'm not selling anymore, but
Right.
since I started in the Amazon industry, the costs have risen and just everything keeps on rising and it never became cheaper to sell on Amazon. Therefore, there's a
Right.
lot of awareness lately about all the weight and dimension issues. There's concerns because Amazon, if you don't have a good handle on the weight and dimensions of your product and they overcharge you, they can take a toll very quickly on a seller. So there's a lot of awareness out there that's rising up
Okay.
because of the rising costs. And because also,
Dimensions and weight. So
yeah.
is there a quick way to explain the biggest changes, or is it just, nope, you got to get in there, measure everything, weigh everything before you even think about sending it to FBA?
So it's a combination of things. Amazon keeps on raising the prices on the pick and pack when they actually pick an item from the bin and actually pack it. Those costs keep on rising. But
Okay.
those costs are born, there's tiers to those costs. They're born from the size, meaning the dimensions, and the weight of the actual item. And if Amazon has incorrect data of your products,
Right.
incorrect weight or dimension, they're going to put you on the higher cost tier. So instead of paying $350 per unit, if you're like in the entry level tier, they're going to have your product, the data of your product will be scaled out like you have a refrigerator. So they're gonna charge you $20 a unit
Right.
instead of $350. So I'm just taking it to the extreme, so people will understand that there's an element of overcharging if there's wrong data stored on your products on Amazon. So there's more awareness now because I think a lot of sellers are experiencing all of a sudden lower profits, even if they have the same amount of sales or maybe even selling a bit more. They feel like there's a little bit less profit, and usually it's a combination of two things: either the competition, a price war,
Right.
right? Or your costs are rising and you got to do something about it. That it creates a friction point for sellers internally and awareness. So they come to us and then we tell them, yeah, that's one of the elements that's out there, that's a pain point, and there's things you can do about it.
So how many of them are getting overcharged and not aware of it, or overcharged, or they think they're getting overcharged, but then you help them understand that the cost was just going up, but it's a legitimate fee hike?
It's a good question. It fluctuates. It depends on the scale of the seller. Some sellers have just very few units, like ASINs, or very a few SKUs. So that's pretty easy. Sometimes it's there's no issues at all. But sellers that have hundreds, maybe thousands, even tens of thousands of SKUs, that's when it becomes challenging. And
Right.
usually those type of sellers are large volume sellers. They're in the tens of millions, sometimes even over 100 million. For them, it's a real concern that millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars are being inefficiently spent in
Right.
costs on their catalog. So they want to address it.
That could be a big number. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've worked with some large sellers that I've sent your way, and the numbers ended up rising pretty quickly in terms of what you were able to do for them, for one thing, but they must have maybe not known exactly how high that number would be in terms of money they could get reimbursed, right?
Right. So when
They
you
just didn't spend the time filing the tickets, doing the research, right?
either they didn't have the awareness, or even if they did and they tried to do it on their own, we're not doing it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It simply did not know how. So when we do an audit, we can come with more accurate numbers of what was the discrepancy rate. You were overcharged X amount, so it's more definitive, it's more scientific.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two things that we're trying to do usually to alleviate the issue. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you update the weight and dimensions, the data, immediately, so you stop being overcharged immediately.
Right.
That's the first thing you want to do. Stop the
Stop
leak.
the bleeding. Yeah.
Exactly. And the second thing
Mhm.
you do, you ask for a recovery. Today they give it a window of 90 days of recovery for that, and that's okay. It used to be 18 months.
Mhm.
It was even more okay.
Right.
So yeah, that's the two elements that we're touching. But I want to stress out another point, that not only that the weight and dimensions fees are going to rise higher, also your storage fees, your monthly storage fees
Right.
are also a derivative of the weight and dimensions. So once again, if you're on the upper tiers instead of the lower tiers, you're also going to pay more for storage. So it's a double hit. It's a double swing. So it's a good practice to have a good handle on it at all times. And you're not, if you're too confused, you're not sure, what you can do about it. There's solutions out there. You can do outreach. I mean, it happens to be that we're one of those solution providers.
Right.
So we're happy to assist anybody in need.
How often do the storage fees go up? I'm not sure I know off the top of my head. Is it
It,
frequent, infrequent, somewhere in between?
I mean, I've noticed, I think almost every year it increases in one way or another, but
Okay.
usually they report on a quarterly level. I think there's a
Mhm.
big price hike also coming up this February. So a lot of sellers are preparing for that. That's where there's more,
Right.
once again.
I know about the February one, which we're in February now. Prospers next month, so I'm sure you're going to be talking to people about that quite a bit in person in Las Vegas.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So the Prosper Show, just I mentioned that a couple of times. It's from March 23rd to 25th. I'll be on the seller performance panel, and I'm doing a workshop about protecting yourself from competitor attacks, black hat tactics, how to report it to Amazon. I don't know if that comes up in your world that much in terms of people saying, I'm getting attacked by a competitor, but possibly somebody is buying from them and saying, this is heavier than I thought it was going to be. This is wider than I thought it was going to be. If they complain to customer service after doing a buyer order, do you think that makes its way through to
Yeah, it
FBA
does.
teams?
Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
good point. Meaning, your weight and dimensions can be affected by this kind of example where a client comes in,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to send this back, but this product is 5 pounds. Give me a bigger shipping label.
Right.
So that
Right.
might trigger maybe some sort of an update potentially. Another
Mm-hmm.
thing, like you mentioned before, all these black hack tricks where actually a competitor. This is interesting. This is something that I did hear.
Right.
They list your ASIN. They don't even sell it. They don't even bother selling it. They just list it. They update internally the weight and dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so Amazon begins to overcharge you as a seller, and they
I heard
leak you
about
out.
this.
And the competition, they're selling the same thing, so their margins are better. They're able to survive, and you
Yeah.
just, they're going up or you're just going down, and you think you're making the same sales and profit, but after a little
Right.
while, you're gonna realize you're much less profitable. And if you don't realize that you're less profitable, you're in even a worse situation, because it means you don't even know your numbers. So that's a different doctor you need. You need somebody with visibility.
They take a crack at trying to slide it by catalog teams. They create catalog abuse situations where the seller the one they're attacking, might not know right away what's going on. It might take
Yeah,
them time to troubleshoot it. And then they've got the wrong dimensions on the detail page for days, weeks until they can figure it out. And they might get some generic response to the ticket they cut with the catalog teams, spend a lot of time on seller support calls that aren't getting them anywhere. Unfortunately, these loopholes get exploited, right? Somebody who's really savvy knows that they can, drive a black hat type train through these loopholes and exploit it to the point where they pound down the sales of their competitor. So, I mean, that's definitely something we're going to be talking about at Prosper. What else do you expect to talk to? You've got a booth there.
yeah, we're gonna have a
So
booth.
what other pain points
Um,
do you hear about that you plan to address in terms of 2020 is different from 2019?
like I said, so it's elements of the competition, of the rising cost. Sometimes it's lack of visibility, like we just mentioned. People who
Mm-hmm.
sell, just having visibility, just even the awareness, because a lot of what we do also beyond just the money and the reimbursements is education.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on education to make sellers more educated about what's the best strategies for success, and know your numbers. And because you know your numbers, you're going to be able to know if you're making a profit or not. And if you are hopefully making a profit, how you can make more of it by reducing your costs, by being able to identify the types of costs. So that
Right.
is something that we are gearing into as well, recently, and we find it to be very useful and helpful, because as we educate our community, our clients, or just our friends from the industry, they become more successful, and their chances of survival just increases tremendously, and they prosper, and therefore we prosper, and we all meet at the Prosper Show.
True. What do you do with people who say they're trying to pull the inventory out and they can't get it? They can't pull those units. Amazon either says those are stuck for whatever reason, or maybe they're suspended account and they can't get the items out. Do people come to you with those types of problems, and are you able to help them troubleshoot? They want the inventory back because they might want to even sell it someplace off Amazon if Amazon won't let them.
Sure. I haven't experienced much of that, but if they do come my way in this kind of a situation, it's really out of our hands. So what we do, we usually direct them to trusted sources in the industry that can get them out of it. You happen to be one of them. So that's what we do. We basically give them a guidance trip to the best, service providers out there to get them out of this tough situations, because it's very challenging. Your asset is there and it's stuck. It's an issue.
They've got something of value there. And then, of course, if they're suspended, their funds are also being held for at least 90 days. And then I'm sure you've talked to people who had their funds held more than 90 days and their suspension became more or less permanent, but they couldn't get the money back either. And then if their inventory is stuck, then what are they supposed to do? Yeah,
it's a double hit. And once again, this is unfortunate. It's not my specialty. It happens to be yours. And when they do come my way, I think we recently we worked on that. I mean, I somebody who wasn't even a client yet reached out with that issue. The first thing I said, at this account, you go to Chris, you get a consultation there, and hopefully you'll get it. And I think eventually it worked out. So that was a good thing to hear.
It's getting tougher though. It's the same as having your funds held, having the inventory stuck, and Amazon won't pull it out. That used to be something you could do a removal order. But now, of course, if you're accused of counterfeit or inauthentic, they keep your money and they don't make any guarantees about giving you your inventory back.
Oh, wow. That's news to me. I wasn't aware.
And it's tough. Well, it's tough because you can't, everyone thinks that this magic solution is arbitration, but often people are losing in arbitration. I mean, Amazon has a pretty good batting average in arbitration. And these people are saying that they're not getting their funds or their inventory back in the arbitration process. You would think that would be a good fallback option or last ditch attempt, but I'm getting more and more people who are complaining that that's not working either.
What is the best, mode operandum or best practice to be able to beat this? If this ever happens, you get suspended for counterfeits, you have funds in there and inventory. What is the best practice to get out of it? Or better yet, not even to be in that situation as far as you know?
Yeah. If you're falsely accused of counterfeit, then you're appealing based on the fact that you can dispute that you ever sold anything counterfeit and prove that all your items are legitimate. If you're accused of selling counterfeit and you have no documentation and you don't even know if you sold something counterfeit or not, you're throwing yourself on the mercy of the Amazon performance teams basically and saying, we've got new suppliers, they're trustworthy, we vetted them differently, they're verified to be selling authentic items to us, but we can't vouch for the items we previously sold. I mean, you more or less give yourself up at that point and admit that you didn't have the right tools and teams in place to prevent that from happening. Whether or not people are willing to say those things at the jeopardy of not getting those funds, I'm not sure. I mean, that's a tough situation to be in. So we help people as much as we can, but not every situation's fixable, as you know, in the suspension universe.
So I guess what I take from this explanation is that anybody watching this, this video or this interview right now, and you haven't met the situation, I would highly recommend. Chris might not stress this enough, but I see it from my end as as they hit the walls. The best practice will simply have everything, have your documentation. Place at any given time. Meaning, I would say that if you have a new supplier saying, "Hey, I want these, I want to sell you, these products or whatever," I would say, show me documentation before you show me the products. If you can't document it, I don't want to deal with you, because I'm not gonna
look at their website.
Yeah, I'm not gonna jeopardize my most expensive vehicle, my money-making vehicle, which is my Amazon account. It's like any of you. You're not gonna put a diesel fuel into your gas car. It's just going to ruin the whole thing, and you're going to lose your whole asset and your ability to go from one place to another successfully, which is with your business. You want to make profit along the years. So have your documentation in place for suspensions and for authenticity. And for that matter also, I would add for your weight and dimensions. Make sure you have that in place, because if you do, it makes it much easier to audit and find the discrepancies. And if you're being overcharged, once again, you'll be able to get a quick recovery with no friction. And that's just how the pros do it. So either you act up, as a pro and step it up, or you're going to simply be pushed out of the game, sooner than later.
Right. And I've sent you guys several people who are happy with the results that you were able to get the reimbursement for lost or stranded inventory. So keep up the good work. And again, Yoni at Gatita, you'll be at Prosper around March 23rd. You're showing up, I assume. And I'm there 23rd to the 25th. So we'll see everybody there. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, reach out to Yoni. Yoni, best way to reach you?
You can always email me. I'm usually very good with responding. It's Yoni M Y-O-N-I. Yoni M. It's Y-O-N-I M for mama at getidea.com, getira.com. You see in the back how to spell Getira.
Right.
Or just you can always visit our website. Go to our contact us page or the chat. Our team is always there and are friendly and willing to help anybody, even if they're a customer, even if they're not. Just we believe in empowering the sellers community, because if the sellers community is booming, we're all going to be booming, which includes you and myself and the whole industry. And it's fun. It's fun to help. There's a merit into that. We're happy that we have the privilege to help. And if people come and prosper our way, we'll be happy to see them and also have a few drinks together. Why not?
Yeah, of course. We always do. I'll include your contact information with this video as well. So thanks again for joining me today. It was great to catch up, and I'll see you next month at Prosper.